Kirk Murphy was a happy, content 4-year-old little boy. He enjoyed himself most when playing with dolls, dress-up clothes, or other stereotypical girl toys. It was in 1970 that his life took a turn for the worst. His mother saw a television ad for a new treatment program at the University of California, Los Angeles, designed to prevent children from growing up gay. Kirk's mother listened closely to the symptoms listed in the television ad and realized that Kirk had many of them. She and her husband enrolled Kirk in the program at UCLA. The program was run by a young UCLA graduate named George Allen Riekers. Quickly, Kirk's therapy was brought into the home, using blue and red poker chips for reinforcement and punishment. Kirk's mother said, "When Kirk would do something bad or play with a doll instead of the train or the truck or whatever, he would get a red poker chip. If he picked up a helicopter or an airplane or did a boy thing, then he would get a blue chip. At the end of the day, I would deduct the red from the blue, and then however many blue chips there were, they told me to give him an M&M for a reward." She recalled that over time the punishment grew harsher and harsher, and even including beatings. Kirk lived through this horrible treatment, and Riekers in the UCLA program deemed the therapy to be a great success. However, Kirk's siblings have now told the truth. Kirk was totally stricken. He believed he was broken, and that he was different from everybody else. He was unable to maintain a relationship, and on December 21st, 2003, at the age of 38, Kirk took his own life. Kirk's story is an example of the harm inflicted on people through the process of reparative therapy. As a society, we must understand this treatment method, reparative therapy. The damage and distress it causes people is not a thing of the past. It is very much prevalent today. Reparative therapy is based on the foundational belief that homosexuals are defective, broken, sinful, and unacceptable, and that sexual orientation is something that can be cured, fixed, or changed. Reparative therapy is a pseudoscientific therapy that aims at changing a person's homosexual orientation. It is a very intensive therapy, primarily for children or teenagers, with the goal of catching their homosexuality at a young age and instilling a heterosexual orientation in them. A very challenging time for gay and lesbian youth is when they decide to come out. Studies show that when coming out, homosexual youth receive a variety of responses: acceptance, tolerance, violence, a demand by parents or others to seek treatment or to change their sexual orientation, or even complete rejection from their families and friends. Lesbian and gay adolescents too frequently are forced by their parents to seek treatment in the form of reparative therapy in hopes of eliminating homosexual desires. Reparative therapy is outdated, unethical, and harmful. For a long time, the American Psychological Association has declared that homosexuality has not been considered a mental disorder. Furthermore, research shows that treatment methods used in the 1950s, which was before current ethical standards in mental health treatment were developed, are still being used today. Therefore, treatment methods used in reparative therapy are clearly not up to today's ethical standards. The APA, the American Psychological Association, has made very clear that they do not sanction or support the use of reparative therapy. According to the APA, most behavioral and social scientists and most health and mental health professionals, homosexuality is a positive expression of human sexual orientation and therefore does not need to be cured, fixed, or changed. Treatment methods must be based on proven empirical data that either confirm or disconfirm a hypothesis. To date, there is no research that has shown conclusive evidence proving that reparative therapy works to change a person's sexual orientation, or that it in fact does not work. There have been many reports, however, that reparative therapy causes harm to the patient, resulting in anxiety, depression, avoidance of intimacy or sexual dysfunction, post-traumatic stress disorder, lack of self-confidence, guilt, and even suicide. As long ago as 1997, the APA advised parents, guardians, young people and their families to avoid sexual orientation change efforts such as reparative therapy, that portray homosexuality as a mental illness or developmental disorder, and rather advise people to seek psychotherapy, social support, and educational services that provide accurate information on sexual orientation and sexuality, increase family and school support, and reduce rejection of sexual minority youth. Even though there has been a long-standing understanding of the harm and disservice reparative therapy can do to a young person, parents and guardians still continue to pressure or force their children to seek reparative therapy. Historically, and still today, the common law in the United States is that parents have the right to make decisions for their children and have control over them. However, this common law becomes a problem when the decisions made by parents or guardians inflict harm on their children. Already in law today are statutes prohibiting child abuse and child endangerment. Thus, the common law giving parents the right to make decisions for their children has limits. Reparative therapy is one of those options that should be prohibited because it is clear that its potential harm outweighs any potential benefit. Moreover, it is important to remember that we live in a heterosexist environment with an internalized notion of homophobia. Thus, this treatment has been promoted by people seeking to have everyone conform to a heterosexist ideal. California is the first state to take legal steps to make sure children are protected from the harmful treatment of reparative therapy. CNN has reported that California passed new legislation that will go into effect on January 1, 2013, that prohibits attempts to change the sexual orientation of persons under the age of 18. Governor Jerry Brown declared this bill bans non-scientific therapies that have driven young people to depression and suicide. He said these practices have no basis in science or medicine. Kirk Murphy's sister Maris expressed her feelings after the California law was passed by saying, "Our dream was that reparative therapy would be banned, but it seemed impossible. Today, however, that dream became a reality. Even if only in California, it means that youth that identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender have a layer of protection in a world where they often have very little. Our goal must be that this law spread to every state in the Union and beyond. Today is truly a day in which I feel that Kirk's life not only lives on, but that his life has now been used for good, to help save the lives of kids just like him, instead of being used to torture, hurt, and harm kids just like him." Maris challenges all of us to make her family's dream a reality by spreading this legislation to every state in the United States, starting with this state of Minnesota. As Minnesotans, we must ask ourselves if we really want our children exposed to the harm and danger caused by reparative therapy. We must take action to stop people like Marcus Bachmann, the husband of Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, from carrying out his practice of reparative therapy. He seeks to impose his belief that gay is not an acceptable lifestyle in God's eyes. We must understand that the risks of reparative therapy to our young people greatly outweigh the benefits. And it is our duty as residents of and students in Minnesota to protect young people from the damaging effects of reparative therapy. Please take action by contacting our Governor, Mark Dayton, or your local state senator or representative, and express your desire to give Minnesota's youth an extra layer of protection from the harm of reparative therapy. Remember Kirk Murphy's death in a positive way by doing your part to prevent this pain from being inflicted on other young people.